My name's Yasmin. I'm 45 years old. I'm sitting alone in our cozy living room, my heart heavy with grief and longing as I write this story. I feel like I finally have the gumption to materialize what I've been through as a means to therapize myself and also help anyone who might relate to the craziness that is my life. You see, Charles, my beloved husband of 20 years, had been taken from me in a cruel twist of fate just a few months ago. The pain of his loss is still fresh, but it was even more crippling when it happened. It was as if time had frozen at that moment when I received the devastating news of his car crash. The future we had envisioned together, filled with love, laughter, and countless more years of companionship, was abruptly shattered. Never would I have thought that I'd be a widow at 45 years old. The bond Charles and I shared was particularly profound, forged through the trials and tribulations we had both endured in our lives. We were two broken souls who found solace and healing in each other's arms. My own journey had been marked by heartache, as my parents, lost to the grip of addiction, had abandoned me at a young age. Their choice to prioritize drugs over their own flesh and blood left me with deep emotional scars. As for Charles, his relationship with his mother, Talia, was tumultuous at best. He had severed ties with her, cutting off all contact after years of disappointment and betrayal. But Talia, like a cunning serpent, would slither back into his life, feigning innocence and pleading for forgiveness. Each time he relented, hoping for a genuine change, she would eventually betray his trust, using him to fund her destructive drug habits and skip town. As I said, Charles and I found solace in each other's arms, building a sanctuary of love and trust that shielded us from the scars of our past. We were each other's rock, a safe haven in a world that had shown us little mercy. Our love flourished, and we dreamt of a future together that would defy the pain and sorrow we had endured. We were doing pretty good, if I do say so myself. It had been 2 years since we last heard from Charles's mother, and it seemed that Charles was finally coming to terms with the fact that his mother would never change. Hence, our success and growth as a couple. We were cultivating a brand of love and care which almost made these deep emotional scars fade. Almost. Charles' sudden departure from this earth left me reeling, drowning in a sea of sorrow and unanswered questions. How could life be so merciless, robbing me of the only person who had truly understood my pain and embraced my flaws? I grappled with this question, wanting to just shrivel up in my bedroom and never face the world again. But time, alas, just like death, isn't merciful and waits for no one. So we had to begin the funeral proceedings. As the days passed, I found solace in the loving support of my friends and family. Together, we navigated the difficult process of bidding farewell to Charles, ensuring that his departure from this world was marked with dignity and a celebration of the beautiful life he had lived. We held a heartfelt funeral service, gathering in my home to honor his memory and share stories that brought both tears and laughter. Amidst the bittersweet atmosphere, with the scent of freshly cut flowers permeating the air, a solemn doorbell rang, interrupting the melodic hum of conversations. Curiosity piqued. I made my way to the door, my heart fluttering with anticipation and uncertainty. And there, standing before me in a sea of black attire, was Talia, Charles's estranged mother, bearing a bottle of whiskey as a peace offering. At that moment, a storm of emotions swirled within me. Anger, resentment, and confusion battled with grief and the longing for closure. But as I gazed into Talia's tear-filled eyes, a flicker of understanding ignited within me. I knew that despite the pain she had caused, she too was grappling with her regrets and the weight of lost time. Without a word, I opened my arms, and Talia stepped forward. We embraced, holding each other tightly as tears were shed, each drop carrying a multitude of unspoken emotions. The years of bitterness and fractured relationships seemed to dissolve in that single heartfelt hug. Talia's whispered agonies washed over me, and though the wounds were far from healed, I found a glimmer of compassion within my heart. With Talia's entrance, a delicate dance of emotions ensued. My friends and family, wearied by the history between Charles and his mother, greeted her with wary smiles, offering her a seat at our table. It was a testament to their unwavering support for me that they set aside their reservations and welcomed her into our midst. Throughout the gathering, Talia shared stories of her own, painting a picture of a woman lost in the grip of addiction, desperately searching for redemption and forgiveness. She expressed her deep regret for the pain she had caused Charles, recounting moments of remorse and longing for the opportunity to rewrite their shared history. As I listened to her words, my heart softened, realizing that beneath the layers of hurt and disappointment, there lay a mother's love, tarnished but never extinguished. It was a complex tapestry of emotions woven with the threads of forgiveness, understanding, and the longing for healing. As the final chords of reminiscence echoed in the room, Talia continued to share fragments of her memories with Charles. She spoke of tender moments from his childhood, of shared laughter and stolen glimpses of the man he had become. Each word carried a mix of nostalgia and regret, creating an intimate portrait of a son she had lost along the way. As the funeral service drew to a close and guests began to depart, Talia, wearing a look of determination, remained by my side. With gentle gestures and a shared understanding, my sisters and I began to tidy up the remnants of the day, grateful for Talia's unexpected assistance. In a moment of vulnerability, Talia turned to me and asked if she could make a request. Her voice trembled with a mix of trepidation and longing, and I met her gaze with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Opening my heart to the possibilities, I encouraged her to share her desire. Talia looked at me, her eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and vulnerability. She took a deep breath before speaking. "Yasmin, I know I have no right to ask this of you, but could I have a chance to say goodbye to my son? To be close to him, even if it's just through his belongings?" I stared at her for a moment, weighing the gravity of her request. Sensing my hesitation, she added, "I know it's an odd request, and again, you have every right to deny it, but if I could just touch his clothes or smell his cologne, maybe, just maybe, I could reconnect with him, even though he's gone." Despite the pain and resentment that still lingered within me, I couldn't ignore the genuine remorse etched on Talia's face. My voice softened as I responded. "Talia, I understand how much you love Charles, and I can see the regret in your eyes. If this can bring you some solace, then yes, you can go up to his room and be with his things. Take all the time you need." Talia's expression shifted, gratitude washing over her features. "Thank you, Yasmin. Your kindness means more to me than you'll ever know." As Talia made her way up the stairs, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Part of me hoped that this moment would provide some closure for her, a chance to mend the fractured bond she had with her son. Yet another part remained cautious, wary of the vulnerabilities this act might expose. In the silence that followed, I allowed my thoughts to drift, reflecting on the intricate tapestry of human relationships, how fragile they could be, how easily they could be torn apart, and yet how resilient they could become in the face of healing and forgiveness. However, those moments of forgiveness and grace I held for Talia would soon be regretted. After about 30 minutes, Talia emerged from the bedroom, her eyes swollen and red, evidence of the torrent of tears she had shed. She appeared as if she had released an ocean's worth of grief and remorse in that solitary room. Her face, once stoic and guarded, now wore an expression of raw vulnerability. Talia took a deep breath, steadying herself before addressing us with a trembling voice. "Thank you for allowing me to have this time with Charles. I'm grateful for your kindness and understanding." Her words were filled with genuine sincerity, and I couldn't help but feel a twinge of sympathy for her. As Talia bid her final goodbyes, there was a sense of closure that enveloped the room. The weight of the day's emotions lingered in the air as if acknowledging the complex web of feelings we had all experienced. With heavy hearts, we watched Talia make her way out of the house, leaving us to reflect on the day's events. Hours turned into evening, and the sun began to set, casting a warm, glowing glow through the windows. My sisters and I sought comfort in each other's company, finding solace in more shared memories and gentle laughter. We reminisced about Charles, cherishing the moments we had spent together and drawing strength from the love that bound us as a family. As the night deepened, exhaustion settled in, and one by one my sisters retreated to their various homes, seeking solace in restful slumber after a long and tiring day. And for the first time that day, I found myself alone in the quiet sanctuary of my room. Amid my grief, I recalled Talia's earlier request to have a private moment with Charles's belongings. Now, with the room enveloped in silence, I couldn't help but feel a tinge of curiosity. The longing to connect with Charles, even in his absence, tugged at my heartstrings, and so I allowed myself to explore his world, to immerse myself in the tangible remnants of his life. Gently, I began to examine his belongings, a collection of cherished items that spoke volumes about the man he was. I held his favorite watch, its rhythmic ticking a gentle reminder of the time we had shared. I traced the contours of his well-worn books, imagining the stories they had whispered to him. I looked over at the dresser, containing all of the things that were salvaged from the car wreck, his phone, his work bag, his watch, and his wallet. That's when I noticed, though, that the wallet was gone. As panic gripped my heart and desperation clawed at my soul, I frantically tore through the room, searching for the missing wallet. Every drawer was pulled open, every corner examined with fervor, but it was as if the wallet had vanished into thin air. The realization struck me with a force that stole my breath away. The wallet that had been retrieved from the wreckage of the car crash was now nowhere to be found. In that moment of distress, I knew I had to reach out to someone who could help me navigate this unsettling mystery. Maybe I remembered incorrectly, and maybe his wallet was never returned to my possession. With trembling hands, I dialed the number of Ramsey, a dear friend who had been present during the funeral and had also played a crucial role in retrieving Charles's salvaged belongings. Ramsey, a trusted member of the police department, possessed both the skills and the dedication needed to unravel the truth. As the phone rang, my heart raced and tears streamed down my face. Ramsey's voice, calm and reassuring, greeted me on the other end. I poured out my anguish, explaining the circumstances and the urgency of the situation. With a heavy sigh, Ramsey confirmed that he had indeed brought Charles's wallet back with the other belongings. A mix of relief and confusion washed over me. If Ramsey had returned the wallet, then where could it have gone? It was then that realization struck like lightning, illuminating the dark corners of my mind. It could only have been Talia, my twisted, estranged mother-in-law, who had seized the opportunity to snatch the wallet from the dresser while I was consumed by grief and unsuspecting of her motives. With a deep breath, I relayed my suspicions to Ramsey, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger, sadness, and disbelief. Ramsey, understanding the gravity of the situation, assured me that we would get to the bottom of it. Charles was one of my best friends, I promise you. If Talia had anything to do with this, we'll get to the bottom of it and make sure that she pays. At that moment, as Ramsay's words of comfort enveloped me like a warm embrace, a flicker of hope ignited within my heart. Though shadows loomed and uncertainty clouded the path before me, I knew that with Ramsay by my side, we would navigate the murky depths of this twisted tale. Together, we would uncover the motives that had driven Talia to commit such a heartless act, and bring closure to this chapter of our lives. As the days rolled on, the weight of grief still heavy upon my shoulders, I was confronted with yet another shocking revelation. The steady stream of bank statements that notified both me and Charles's phones bore witness to a growing storm brewing within Charles's accounts. It started with small amounts, a charge of $700 followed by $1,000, but soon escalated into a torrential downpour of deductions with staggering sums exceeding $3,000. Fear and concern gripped my heart as I watched the steady drain on Charles's hard-earned savings. It was a violation, a desecration of his memory that cut me to the core. With a heavy heart, I once again reached out to Ramsay, seeking guidance and solace in the face of this new ordeal. Ramsay's voice resonated with a mixture of empathy and determination, as he advised me to take swift action. You have to get Charles's cards deactivated immediately to halt these unauthorized transactions. The practicality of his advice was undeniable, but it was a bitter pill to swallow. Canceling credit and debit cards, terminating TV, movie, and music subscriptions, and severing financial ties. All these formalities served as a stark reminder that Charles was truly gone. Yet, as the anger grew within me, fueled by the audacity of Talia's actions, a rebellious thought took hold. Why should I succumb to her wicked game so easily? How dare she squander my late husband's money with such reckless abandon? No! I resolved that I would not let her have the satisfaction of destabilizing our lives further. And so, a devious plan began to form in the recesses of my mind. I decided to let Talia continue using the carts, allowing her a false sense of security. Little did she know that I held the upper hand, the power to unveil her deceit and reclaim what was rightfully Charles's. It was not an easy choice, for it meant prolonging my confrontation with the harsh realities of his absence. But I was determined to expose Talia's true nature, to shine a blinding light upon her dark deeds. I would gather the evidence, the proof of her financial exploitation, and present it as an irrefutable testimony of her treachery. With renewed vigor and a fire burning within me, I set out on this dangerous path. Each transaction made by Talia would be meticulously documented, her every move tracked, until the time was ripe for confrontation. It was a delicate game of cat and mouse where I would allow her to revel in her illusion of control, all the while laying the groundwork for her inevitable downfall. As days turned into weeks, the battle raged within me. A whirlwind of emotions that swung between despair and determination. I clung to the memories of Charles, drawing strength from his love and the fire that burned within me. I knew that by exposing Talia's actions, I would be honoring his memory, safeguarding his legacy from the clutches of greed and deceit. But if I was going to stick it to her, I had to do it in a way that she'd never forget. As the weeks crawled by, the weight of Talia's deceit grew heavier. She continued to squander Charles's hard-earned money with reckless abandon, her audacity seemingly boundless. Each transaction she made, each dollar she spent, served as a reminder of her complete lack of remorse and empathy. My disgust for my estranged mother-in-law reached new depths with every passing day. How could she betray her own son's memory so callously? How could she treat his legacy as her piggy bank, using it to fund her desires without a shred of guilt? Then, one fateful day, I opened the door, and lo and behold, there stood Talia, a semblance of remorse etched upon her face. But I knew that it was all a lie. Oh, hello, Yasmin. Hello, Talia. Can I come in? No, you may not. Oh, I suspected as much. I don't blame you. I imagine you found that Charles's wallet is missing. Well, I'm so sorry I took the wallet, Yasmin. Please forgive me. I was overcome with grief and I knew that my time to say goodbye would be short-lived. So I took the wallet as a keepsake, a token of sorts. Oh, really? Yes, I'll admit it was completely wrong of me, but I guess I grew conscious and decided to return it to you. Anger surged within me, threatening to consume my every thought. How could she stand before me, spinning her web of lies with such shameless ease? But I held my tongue, masking my fury behind a serene smile. At that moment I saw an opportunity, a chance to turn the tables on Talia and expose her for the fraud she truly was. I smiled and then handed Talia a document, a meticulously compiled record of every penny she had stolen from Charles, and accompanied by a list of the charges she would be facing for her crimes. Upon reading it, her hands and her eyes widened in disbelief. Still, she had the gall to ask, What's this? It's a documentation of all the money you stole from Charles, and it also outlines the legal consequences you'll be facing because of it. Talia's facade crumbled before my eyes. She stuttered and stammered, her lies falling apart at the seams. The weight of her guilt and deceit finally took its toll, and she collapsed on the front porch, unconscious. Without a word, I called for an ambulance, ensuring that she received the medical attention she needed. As Talia regained consciousness in the sterile confines of a hospital room, her wrists bound by cold metal handcuffs, the reality of her actions began to set in. She raged and demanded to be released, but I stood there, an embodiment of calm resolve. I assured her that she would not escape the consequences of her crimes, that she would be locked away for at least 20 years, paying for the havoc she had wreaked upon Charles's memory. With the unwavering support of Ramsey, my trusted friend in law enforcement, I gathered enough evidence to ensure Talia faced the full extent of the law. We had calculated the amount of time she would likely spend behind bars, a fitting punishment for her despicable actions. As I reflect upon the tumultuous journey that brought me to this point, I find solace in the knowledge that justice had been served. I have avenged Charles's memory, bringing to light the depth of Talia's betrayal. The stolen money has been reclaimed, and Talia will face the consequences of her fraudulent actions. With a sense of contentment and closure, I look forward to the future, free from the clutches of Talia's deception. Charles's spirit can rest, knowing that his legacy has been protected, and I can finally find the peace I so desperately seek. The chapter that started with heartbreak and betrayal ends with justice prevailing, reminding us that no act of deceit will go unpunished and that the strength of love and determination can overcome even the darkest of shadows.